Well, good morning. I hope you're staying warm. We're in the heart of a UP winter, and it's one of those years when you really know it's winter. Legislators returned to Lansing this week with some key matters still on the agenda. We'll find out what they are and what the prospects are for coming to agreement on those issues right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Here's your host, Don Ryan.
Well, State Representative Bo LaFave lives in Iron Mountain and represents Delta, Dickinson, and Menominee counties in the Michigan House. The 108th District Representative now has 1 year under his belt after being elected to an open seat in November of 2016. LaFave graduated from Kingsford High School, earned his bachelor's degree in international relations and political economy in 2015 from Michigan State, and completed 1 year at Wayne State University Law School. State Representative LaFave is our guest this morning. Welcome back to the Ryan Report.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Good to have you back. As I said, you've got a year under your belt now. How are you feeling about the job?
I absolutely love my job. To be able to travel the 4,000 plus square miles of my 3 counties and the rest of the Upper Peninsula is just a blessing and an honor. And I really do love a lot of my colleagues in Lansing. And I'm just excited to get back down there and start working again.
Are you happy with your committee assignments and where you're working there?
Yeah, of course, I'm on the Energy, Natural Resources, Insurance, and Judiciary committees. I think they're the 4 best committees. I get to work on things that are really important: energy costs, insurance costs. We can work on the antiquated gun laws, and of course, somebody's got to watch out for that DNR. So I love the committee assignments that I have.
One of the things I know you did, you tried something different. You went to work in one of the businesses in your local communities just to get the experience. What was that about, and how did it work out?
Yeah, we called it Bo's LaFavorite Jobs. Okay. And I think that one of the things that I need to do to better represent the people that I work for, my 90,000 constituents and the rest of the Upper Peninsula, is to go to local businesses and see what their struggles are and what I might be able to do to get the government out of their way so they can make the economy boom.
Okay. And are you signing up more prospects for that?
Yeah. Well, we tried to do one every 2 weeks. We got that goal, and then this winter and Christmas showed up, and prospects kind of dwindled a little bit. But we're going to go right back to it and continue on. And if you want to have me at your business, just let us know. We'll be happy to go there.
Let's talk about some of the issues. Well, you know, speaking about the legislature, Lieutenant Governor Kelly has proposed that we go to a part-time legislature, and I just wanted to get your reaction on that.
I think that we probably could do a part-time legislature in some way. What I don't think, I don't agree with the part-time legislature petition drive, because one of the things that I, of course, will finish my 5 years if I'm blessed to do so, and I'll be very happy with whatever the taxpayers are willing to pay me. I don't know if you're going to find people from Lawrence or Houghton or Iron Mountain that are willing to do the 8, 9, 10-hour drives and stay in Lansing away from their family for 3 months at a time and then come back. I don't want to be gone from my family and my constituents for 3 months at a time. As it is, I go to Lansing on Monday morning and I'm back in Iron Mountain on Thursday night. I believe if Brian Calley's petition drive is successful and it wins in the ballot, there will be committee hearings on Saturday and Sunday, and you won't be able to go home and represent your constituents until April 15th.
One of the other issues that I asked the Lieutenant Governor about is the fact that in many cases the state legislators become advocates for their residents in Lansing with the bureaucracy.
At least they should be.
Should be, yeah. Would that be affected, do you think, by this proposal?
One of the concerns that I would have would be sometimes it's very interesting laws if you built a house on somebody else's property that's not the state, say your eave is hanging over by a foot, there's ways to get that and not have to tear your house down, especially if the lines were drawn inappropriately. Mm-hmm. But if your eaves on your camp or your home are encroaching on state land, they're allowed to tear the building down. So one of the things that Senator Casperson and I do often is talk with the DNR and fix that problem. And whether do you do a half of an acre of a land swap or pay cash to get, and so you're not encroaching on everybody's property, but we also not tear the camp down. I don't know how we're going to be able to do those type of constituent work if there's no hammer at the end of the day. The departments and The departments and bureaucrats in Lansing have to work with me and Senator Casperson, because if they don't, we can yank their funds from their budget, literally at any time. So they work with us, and we're pretty nice guys. But if we can't change the budget overnight, there's no real reason to work with us as much as there is now. So I would be concerned about that.
Okay. Let's shift gears. One of the big issues that we're facing in Michigan and everywhere is the opioid crisis. We've just passed a package of bills. I did talk to the Lieutenant Governor extensively about that, but did you support the bills that were passed, and do you think we've done what needs to be done?
I absolutely did support the bills that we passed. I think it's a good start, but I don't think we're done. I think we need to continue on. One of the things that the late John Keevala did was he introduced a bill to stop people from buying Sudafed over the counter, because that's what they make meth out of. If there's no Sudafed, there's no meth. So he introduced a bill that would say you need a prescription to do that. I'm interested in reintroducing that bill. I think the bill has merit, and I think that would really help stem the opioid crisis.
Okay.
Or that would stem some of the problem we have, and opioids are very similar in that nature.
One of the issues, too, is are we doing enough to help those people who are addicted, oftentimes who became addicted innocently by taking legal prescription drugs?
Yeah, one of the pieces that was in the package was a lot of times high school athletes, we love our football up here. Of course, we should. We have state champions all over the Upper Peninsula. But they'll get into a serious injury and they'll go to the hospital, and then they'll give them 90 Vicodin pills or whatever type of narcotic. And a lot of times they don't tell you, the thing says take them every 4 hours. Well, you're not supposed to take them any more than that. But you're not supposed to take them every 4 hours either. It's supposed to be as needed. Right. So when you're in debilitating pain, you take one. So one of the bills that we had in there was an education piece that said, hey, these aren't like your sleeping pills. These aren't like your asthma medication. This is not something you take every day. And I think that's going to help a little bit, but there is more to be done. And, I really do feel sympathy and empathy for these individuals.
We have to take a break. We'll talk about more issues in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on the Ryan Report just 2 minutes from now. Our guest this morning is State Representative Bo Lefebvre. Just so many issues we could talk about. I know one that's on people's mind is the fact that with the federal tax reform, the state treasurer and others have said that this will affect Michigan's income tax, since as it is, people can deduct that $4,000 as an exemption, and it could go away. Is that going to be fixed? Is that a no-brainer, or are some people going to oppose that?
I'm sure somebody will oppose it. I do think it's a no-brainer. My plan is to go to Lansing today and continue my conversation with Attorney General Bill Schuette and my speaker, Tom Leonard, about this issue. But I stand with Bill Schuette on this issue. I've already voted to lower everyone's taxes in Michigan on their income tax once. I think I've made that quite clear. I'll do it again. This $4,000 exemption for dependents is a no-brainer, though. There was no attempt by the Michigan legislature or the federal government to increase taxes. That was right. Nobody's goal. But because of the way you fill out your taxes in Michigan, you in 2017 got a $4,000 exemption for yourself. Your spouse would get $4,000, and then any dependents that you had would right. be another one. The line on your tax return says number of federal deductions. Since they got rid of deductions to simplify, you're going to have to put 0 as opposed to the number you did, which would have a significant impact for some folks. We should fix that. I would call it the Michigan exemption. You can call it the UP exemption for all I care. But I think we should try to follow the spirit of the law passed by the Republicans and President Trump and lower everybody's taxes, because that is going to help the economy, and we should try to follow the spirit of the law. And any bill that would just do a simple fix wouldn't have any implications on budget. It would be budget neutral. We don't have deficit, so right. I don't have to say deficit neutral.
Okay. I know one of the issues you've really been involved with is the auto insurance reform, and I think everybody, without exception, would like to see lower auto rates. But we have a system in Michigan which does provide some benefits. I know you supported legislation last year that would have made some changes. The legislation failed. Where do we go from here?
Well, I would love to tell you that I've got a couple ideas to make minor changes and get it through passed as it was. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do that. So it looks like I'm going to be starting from scratch and trying to come up with another way to do it. But the legislation that I voted yes on, 5013, would have saved the average driver in Michigan $1,000 per vehicle. It would have made a huge difference. I'm going to try to get that again. I'm going to try to figure out another way to get to that $1,000 a vehicle. And one of the things we need to do is coordinate your car insurance with your health insurance. And for folks that are on Medicare, Medicaid, there's no reason that they need to have their medical expenses from a car accident covered by car insurance, because Medicare, or Medicaid will pay for it. So in 49 other states, at some point, Medicare or Medicaid will pay for your car accident, except for Michigan. We are subsidizing the rest of the country.
Is it important that we keep in place what we have? I mean, should there be some type of coverage for catastrophic accidents?
I do think that there should always be an option for someone to choose to buy that if they so decide to. I don't think that my grandmother, who is now 75, she does drive. She doesn't drive on the freeway. She likes to go to camp. She likes to go to church. She doesn't need lifetime unlimited care because she already has lifetime health care through her former employer and lifetime health care through Medicare. So she doesn't need catastrophic. But for some people like me, maybe I do. I drive 1,000 miles a week. Maybe I should have it. But I also have very generous health care that I pay for myself. So I don't have any limit on my health care expenses. So in a way, I already have catastrophic coverage. I'm double covered right now. The vast majority of Americans are double covered right now because Obamacare mandates that you buy health care. And there can be no cap on that. So I understand in the past how we might have needed mandatory lifetime unlimited. I don't think we need it today.
Let's move ahead to some other issues. One of the things, the other impact from the tax reform, the Michigan Public Service Commission is asking the utilities to explain how they will benefit from the tax reform and what they will do with those benefits. Is that an important step in Michigan?
It is. So I'll give a little bit of explanation on how our incumbent utility providers work. The state of Michigan gives them what I call a territorial monopoly, which means that you serve all these people and nobody else can really compete with you. And that means they have to serve all those people, but they also get a defined amount of profit every year. I want to say it's 8%. Well, if they get a third of their income taxes cut, or corporate tax cut, that means that they should still be able to get that 8% and lower rates. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important. So
we're likely to see some perhaps beneficial rate
I think
decreases?
That perhaps is a good word. I'm going to keep an eye on the MPSC. I'm on the Energy Committee. The reason I wanted to be on that was to lower rates. So if this is my opportunity to do it, I think that's one of the most important things to do. I think it's right up there with car insurance reform. We have one of the most expensive rates for electricity in America. Only Hawaii pays more than the Upper Peninsula does for electricity. So we need to get them lowered.
Okay. We'll talk about some more issues in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on the Ryan Report after we take this break. Once again, we're talking this morning with State Representative Bo Lefebvre. Kind of an interesting, there's a fund, I think it's called the Northern Michigan Sports Tourism Fund, something like that. And for years, the money from the fund has gone to Cobo Hall. And you and Senator Casperson have been looking about the possibility of bringing some of those funds here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, long story short, when we buy cigarettes or alcohol in the Upper Peninsula or anywhere in the state of Michigan, some of that money goes to Cobo Hall in Detroit. And because apparently we haven't been smoking less, or maybe we've been drinking a little bit more with this cold weather, I don't know. But there's been $14 million last year and years previously, more than they should have gotten and were promised. And so Senator Casperson and I thought, why don't we bring some of that tax dollars that we contribute to back home to Northern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula?
And what are the prospects of that happening?
I think that we've got a good chance. Senator and I both he got it out of the Senate committee, I got it out of the House committee with the help of Lee Chatfield over on the east side. And we're working to get that done. We just need a full vote of the Senate, full vote of the House. Procedurally, it's good to go. Unfortunately, our friends in Detroit don't really want us to change it, but we're only going to take 3% of the statewide liquor and tobacco tax. Coincidentally, we're about 3% of the population. I don't see that the UP is getting much benefit from Cobo Hall in Detroit, but I can promise you if we can get 1.9 million a year for 10 years, I guarantee that the rest of the state will see the benefit of the UP having increased tourism and recreation.
There's, speaking of tourism and recreation, there's a movement now for Michigan to improve bike safety regulations. Apparently, as a state, we don't rank well when it comes to bike safety. Are you involved in that debate?
So I have not been. That's been mostly in the Transportation Committee. I did have folks friendly with that idea come into my office and discuss it with me. There's a lot of it is move over 3 feet. I don't think anybody wants to hit a biker. And then interestingly enough, in Michigan, if you have a bike rack on the back of your vehicle and it's obscuring your license plate, I think it's an arrestable offense.
Oh, really?
Because it's kind of like covering it up for a bank heist, your license plate. So they don't do that, but they could.
I have one of those. So.
Yeah. Oh, Don, they're not gonna let you out of the studio.
No.
But so I think that definitely needs to get fixed. That one's easy. The rest of it's a little bit more difficult, but I can certainly understand the merit of that.
The whole idea of distracted driving, too, is becoming a bigger concern in this country, isn't it?
It is.
Is there any more we can do about it, or have we done enough?
You know, I think that we could probably use to talk about it more. I appreciate that you brought it up. You know, we need to keep our eyes on the road. It's really difficult. I know. I'm tempted to look at my cell phone, too, on my 8-hour drive to Lansing. But what we do need to do more as a society. I don't believe that the government needs to step in and do more necessarily. Distracted driving is already illegal. You can already get pulled over for it. You can already go to jail for it if you cause an accident. I don't see that there'd be any benefit of the state stepping in necessarily to do more. But as a representative and as a public figure, I think that maybe I should go down and shoot some public service announcements, and I think we should continue talking about it.
We have less than a half a minute. Have you made a decision about seeking re-election yet?
I have not at this time. No announcement yet, but coming up very soon, I think that we'll have one ready.
It's going to be a big political year in Michigan with governors, senators, attorney generals all down, every state legislature, and of course a big Senate race state Senate race up here as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating time to be in the voting booth. I know a lot of the folks that I'm going to be voting for, and I look forward to continuing 2018 and getting as much done before that happens as possible.
Okay, thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Don.
I'll have a little different story for you when we return on the Ryan Reports. Well, as I pointed out on a recent broadcast, 10 years ago, drivers had never encountered a roundabout in Upper Michigan. But this year, the city of Marquette built 6 new ones to bring the total in the city to 7. As a matter of fact, if you enter Marquette from the east or south, you can encounter 4 separate roundabouts within 0.8 of a mile. To those with roundabout experience, it's not necessarily a big deal. But for some, that may not be the case. And so this morning, I'd like to share with you a story, a poem I've written about the man from Trenary. An elderly man left Trenary one day, happy as can be as he went on his way. He headed for Marquette, a dentist to see. He'd get his tooth fixed and pay the usual fee. He came into town on his usual route, but then he encountered his first roundabout. He drove through that circle with trepidation and fear, yet he knew his destination was now very near. But alas and alack, the turnouts all looked the same. So he left that circle heading back from where he came. He said, I'll come back tomorrow. That's what I'll do. I'll go home and rest and then try it anew. The next day he left Trenary with determination on his face. This time he would win, he would finish this race. He drove through that roundabout with confidence anew. This time he was certain he knew just what to do. Sure enough, he did it right and made the proper turn. Now he knew all about roundabouts that he had to learn. He pulled out heading west on Highway 41 when he hit the 7th Street roundabout and said, oh, not another one. He went round that circle. He was sure he knew best, but he wound up on Grove Street, failing that test. Back to Trenary, for his appointment was past. Tomorrow he would make it. He would get there at last. Then came day 3, and he left town once more. As he entered Marquette, he said, "I've been here before." He made his way safely through Roundabout 1. He did the same at 7th Street, knowing the battle he had won. But then there it was. Yes, it was Roundabout 3. It was there in a spot where no intersection used to be. He made an early exit, and as he came through, there was a 4th roundabout. He didn't know what to do. It would be nice if a happy ending came with this story, but unfortunately our traveler failed to enjoy that glory. To this day, if you drive on the Marquette Bypass, a lonely traveler you may happen to pass. It's a man from Trenary trying to find his way home, not knowing that he is the subject of this poem. You see, he can't escape from the roundabout trap, even though he carefully studied the map. From Front Street to Baraga with 7th in the middle, he just can't figure out the roundabout riddle. Back and forth through each roundabout, that's how he goes. And when he'll escape, nobody knows. And back in Trenary, his friends patiently wait, trying to figure out just what was his fate. But you and I know the story, and it's a sad one, they say, of the man from Trenary who came to Marquette one day. Is there a lesson in this tale of tragedy and woe? If you travel to Marquette, be careful where you go, for the roundabouts are everywhere in the south and the north. Make careful plans for travel before you go forth. And if the man from Trenary you should happen to see, give him a wave and a smile for me. I'll be back in a minute. The Today Show is about ready to roll, which means it's just about time for us to say goodbye. We do have time to remind you that you can also watch our show on the internet at uppermichigansource.com. Today's show will be available starting at about noon tomorrow. I want to thank State Representative Beau Lefebvre for coming in today and providing an update on developments in Lansing. And I want to thank you for joining us. Let's get together again, same time, next Sunday morning.